Our next participant is Mr. Ed Dowd. Mr. Dowd is currently a founding partner of Finance Technology, spelled with a PH. He has worked on Wall Street most of his career for firms such as HSBC, Donaldson, Lufkin, and Genret, Independence Investments, and most notably at BlackRock as a portfolio manager, where he managed a $14 billion growth equity portfolio for 10 years. Mr. Dowd.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. A pleasure to be here and an honor. At Finance Technologies, which was founded in June of 2022, we've been tracking excess deaths, disabilities, and injuries across the globe, mostly Western nations, but today I'm going to speak to the U.S., and we're going to talk about our estimated human and economic costs of the pandemic policy since 2021. Here's my statement. The U.S. government, along with the WHO, declared a pandemic in 2020 and a number of policy responses that we were told would slow the spread of COVID-19 and allow us to come up with a vaccine in record time, dubbed Operation Warp Speed. The 2020 policy responses included societal lockdowns, masking, and social distancing. In 2021, we began the rollout of a vaccine solution that was predominantly a novel mRNA-based technology, with the vendors predominantly being Pfizer and Moderna. This solution had never undergone human trials prior to 2020 and was approved under an EUA in late 2020 within record time for a vaccine and a noticeably short trial period. The government deemed these products safe and effective and told the nation they would prevent you from getting and transmitting COVID-19. These statements have since been proven false. It has become clear that the U.S. government, along with the health regulators, do not desire an honest accounting of these policies that were imposed mostly under federal mandates. I will predominantly focus on the human and economic costs since the beginning of 2021, which, if they were favorable to the current regime, you would be hearing them scream these results from the rooftops. I will focus on three buckets, which we break down as excess deaths, excess disabilities, and lost work time, in other words, injuries. When analyzing the excess death human costs, it's interesting to note that in 2020, there were approximately 458,000 excess deaths, of which 73% were age 65 and older, and 15 to 64 comprising just 27%. Note, we were told in 2020 that the COVID-19 risk of death was primarily in the older populations. However, in 2021, with the rollout of the quote-unquote safe and effective vaccine, there were approximately another 500,000 excess deaths, but a mix shift had occurred from older to younger. In 2021, the 65-plus age category was 57%. Remember, it was 73% in 2020 of the total, while the 15 to 64 cohort increased to 43%. The absolute excess death increase from 20 to 21 for the productive working age 15 to 64 was 73%. So in 2020, 124,000 people perished excessively, and then in 2021 it rose to 215,000, 73%. For a virus that kills old people, this mix shift is an epic failure for the so-called vaccine solution. The total excess deaths since the rollout of the vaccine in the U.S., including 21, 22, and 23, is approximately 1.1 million. We estimate the economic cost of productive working age people dying at $15.6 billion. When analyzing disabilities, it is interesting to note that there were no excess disabilities in 2020. Using the civilian labor force, we have calculated an increase of 2.3 million individuals with disabilities costing the economy an estimated $77 billion. We want to note that the excess disability number for total population 16 plus is 3.5 million. When analyzing lost work time, which we call injuries, we estimate 28.4 million individuals are chronically absent, resulting in an estimated economic cost of $135 billion since 2021. Work time loss peaked in 2022 at 67% above the 2019 timeframe and has since dropped to 22% in 2023. So there has been improvement, but it's still standard deviations above the long-term trend. To sum up the post-pandemic policy scorecard since 2021, excess deaths, 1.1 million total, with 300,000 in the 15 to 64 age group, for a total cost of $15.6 billion. Excess disabilities, 2.3 million, 3.5 million for total population, estimated cost $77 billion. Excess lost work time, 28.4 million individuals, estimated cost $135 billion. Total human cost is $33 million, and total economic cost, $227 million. $33 million is about 10% of the US population. If you assume it's vaccine-related, that's 13% of the vaccinated population. If you assume 25% did not get the vaccine. It should be noted that this compares to 458,000 excess deaths, 0 excess disabilities, and a total economic cost of $50 billion for 2020. Obviously, the policy cure was undeniably worse than the illness. We at Finance Technologies understand that there may be many cofactors in these results, but we believe the vaccine introduction is predominantly responsible for what we are calling the post-pandemic policy scorecard. The blame of the vaccine could be put to rest if studies were conducted of vaccinated versus unvaccinated individuals. Independently of whether it's the vaccine or not, as a nation, we should all collectively want to know what is actually causing these tragic health results. However, the silence by the health authorities and the U.S. government strongly suggest they know the answer to that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dowd. Now, again, you're a finance guy, you're a numbers guy, you're not a doctor. And one of the reasons you stepped forward is because our federal agencies aren't transparent. They're not conducting the studies. They simply don't want to know, in my mind. So you threw out a lot of numbers there. First of all, can you just talk about the quality of your data? Again, as you heard with my oversight letters, they're not providing their analysis of their VAERS, their safety surveillance systems. So now people like you, and there are other people that are just taking a look at death statistics or disability statistics. Those take a while to be published, but talk about just the quality and really the indisputable nature of the data that you've used to come up with this analysis.
Yes, so we've calculated excess deaths, disabilities, and injuries. Excess deaths, we wrote methodology papers on how we calculate them. We three different methods. We prefer the second method. These can be compared to the actuarial tables from the insurance industry, which saw similar excess death in their group life policy. So these excess deaths are undeniable. What is going on currently is certain governments are now changing how they calculate these numbers. The ONS just announced a change to the calculation methodology for their excess death number, which reduces, obviously, the excess deaths because they like that result better. We suspected that might happen, so that's why we wrote our methodology papers and published them in September of 2022. And the actuarial tables that the insurance companies use haven't changed. So excess deaths are continuing. The insurance companies are seeing the same excess mortality, especially in the working age population. So these deaths are undeniable. You can't hide the dead bodies, unfortunately.
So again, you publish all your information on your website. Was it One America? Was that the insurance company that's kind of the first revelation of this? Was an insurance company out of Indiana?
Well, One America, CEO Scott Davison, in a Chamber of Commerce meeting, revealed that he had seen 40% excess mortality in the millennial age group, 25 through 44, and even as high, actually for 25 through 64. And he said that's 10% increase would be once in a 200-year flood or a 3 standard deviation event. 40% was off the charts, just off the charts.
And we haven't really heard anything since that point in time, other than from people like you. Because we tried helping you get insurance data, and we were just pretty well blocked. No, the insurance companies, they did not want to cooperate with us and provide us their information. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so what they're doing is, unfortunately, there's still a lot of controversy in the insurance industry where a lot of people don't even want to look at the vaccine issue. A lot of these CEOs mandated, got the jab themselves, so are in a state of denial. They have raised prices in group life policy, so the losses are less now. Losses will be coming in whole life policies due to a Byzantine accounting dynamic, so we expect to see reserves taken once they lower their long-term mortality assumptions or raise their long-term mortality assumptions, I should say. And we'll see losses start running through their P&Ls this year and next. With it, I have whistleblowers, and there's been discussions at board level meetings about the continued excess mortality, and they dance around every issue except the vaccine. Not mentioned.
So again, you talked about an awful lot of numbers, but my big takeaway is that what you found out is in working age population, there was just an extraordinary increase in excess deaths and disabilities starting in 2021, not 2020 during the pandemic before we had a vaccine, but after the vaccine rollout. I mean, is that pretty much your
That's correct, and that's my thesis as to why the vaccine causes. There was a huge mix shift from old to young starting in 21. Disabilities weren't apparent in 2020. And if you look at the disability numbers and you can drill down into them, the rate of change for the employed in our country in disabilities between 2021 and 2023 was 38%. So that was a rate of change increase of 38% versus the general U.S. population, which has been 9%, and not in labor force, only 4%.
So I encourage everybody to go look at his data, and it's indisputable, basically. So thank you, Mr. Dowd.